Tonight in the House of Tiny Tearaways.
To be really blunt, it's like she's a junkie.
It was something for me to do that didn't involve staying at home with you every night.
It's the third day at the House of Tiny Tearaways, and Tanya's beginning to get to grips with the complex problems our families have this week. But can she do enough today to really start making some progress? The Bunyans,
A little bit of cucumber, will you give that a bite? Pardon?
the Mccardles and the Fletchers arrived in the house desperate for clinical psychologist Dr. Tanya Byron to help them tackle their children's extreme problems. With just 4 days left, all the families are hoping Tanya can turn their lives around in the House of Tiny Tearaways. It's 4:15 in the morning, and after a restless night, Matthew Mccardle has woken up in his own bed. Ten minutes later, and he still hasn't woken his parents up. The Mccardle family have come into the House of Tiny Tearaways to get help with their 2.5-year-old son Matthew's stubborn behaviour at mealtime and bedtime. At home, Matthew has never slept the whole night in his own bed. On their first night in the house, Angela and Mark had to return Matthew to his own bed a total of 43 times. Last night, he only needed to be returned 18 times.
Mommy, Daddy, Daddy.
Matthew is also a very fussy eater, choosing to eat only a very few bland, dry foods such as crackers, breadsticks and shortbread. Yesterday, parents Angela and Mark tried to get son Matthew to eat some new foods, but had very little success.
You not like it?
Come on, Tommy.
Eat it up, Matthew. Eat it all up.
7 o'clock and the family are up and eating breakfast. The Mccardles arrived in the house, worried about their son Matthew, who's 2.5. How are they getting on?
They're getting on well. The first night he was in the house, he needed to be returned to bed 43 times, last night 18. So as far as the sleep training is going, great, because they're both being patient, consistent, and as a family they're working well together. Food is going well as well. He's touching foods he's never touched before, he's putting them to his mouth and he's licking them. He's licked apple, he's licked grape. These are very different tastes for him, and they're doing very well to try and be more upbeat and more rewarding. However, even at the table, and I said to Mark, oh, isn't he doing well? Mark's like, And I really need to get to the bottom of why Mark is so driven by results with his little 2.5-year-old boy, who, as far as I can tell, is making very nice, very gentle, but very consistent progress.
Let's talk about his behaviour as well, because he's quite boisterous. He's whack himself against the other children, even Emily, who's 5, and he was a bit of a tearaway. What's the sleep done to his behaviour?
He's a much more settled child. You can see his mood is much more even. I was right, we were having a child in the house hugely sleep deprived.
Yeah.
So, you know, from that point of view as well, how can you push your child into results if they are exhausted?
So what are your plans for the Mccardles then today?
But I still want to talk more generally about their parenting style and about their relationship, because I really think until we've got a handle on that, Mark will constantly feel that his little boy is letting him down, and Angela, I think, will constantly sit there feeling really quite tense and uptight and wanting Mark to be more joyful, and so the whole atmosphere pervades, and then little Matthew is stuck in the middle.
Charlie Fletcher is playing with Mark and Matthew Mccardle in the living area.
Skate. Board.
That's a skateboard.
Okay, that's what it is. Good.
Emma and Jamie Fletcher came to the house with their 3.5-year-old son Charlie, who has selective mutism. This means he'll only talk to his family and rarely speaks outside their home. Since coming into the house, Tanya has found that Emma and Jamie are incredibly anxious about the situation and are heartbroken that he won't communicate. Yesterday, Charlie said a handful of words to the other members of the house, but spoke using the language of a much younger child.
You like talking?
Last night, Tanya showed some footage to the house to help them understand the condition and how they might all help Charlie as a community.
What we've all got to do is step back and not load him with expectation.
Should we play ball, Charlie? Okay, let's do it. Who else is playing ball? And you as well. Come on then, stand up, stand up. We'll have to roll it along the floor. Oh, the dinosaur's ready, huh? Oh, I missed it. Rubbish.
It's breakfast time for 2.5-year-old Rosie Bunyan. Whilst normally very picky about food, this morning she's showing little interest in any food.
Mummy.
Next side. Yeah.
Why did you give Rosie strawberries and toast?
Because when she tries a bit of toast, you can have a little bit of strawberry, can't you? Yeah? Try that today?
Oh, that's it.
I've got the thermometer down there if you want to buy it. She looks pale, to be honest. She does look pale.
Lisa and Pete Bunyan brought daughter Rosie to the house, concerned about her very narrow diet, consisting entirely of sweet foods. Refusing to eat fruit and vegetables, she'll throw tantrums at the table if she doesn't get her own way. Tanya suggested that Mum Lisa was too anxious around their daughter, and Dad Pete was unable to show anger in certain situations, both linked to Rosie's difficult birth. Yesterday, they encouraged her to eat fruit for the first time ever, but will this success last?
That's a grape.
Good girl, Rosie. Right then, missus, will you try some of this? Rosie? Do you want to try a little bit? You try a little bit. You try? Taste a little bit. Good girl, Rosie. Well done.
Clever girl.
Can you just have a bite of toast for me first, and then we will? Let me see your mouth. Lift up for Mummy. She's falling asleep, look. I mean, that's just not...
I'll go and get a blanket and... Or should we take her back down to the room?
Charlie.
Following breakfast, Tanya heads to the living area to have a chat with Lisa and Pete Bunyan about Rosie's lack of energy.
Right, I watched breakfast from the moment it started. I think what we're looking at here is the fact that I think Rosie's just going into a big sugar dip.
Didn't even think.
I think that's what's happening.
Didn't even think.
If you imagine her diet and the way she eats, she's dosing herself throughout the day. Now what's happening is because you're introducing more sort of regular,
Stable food.
she's actually gone shunk. Okay, to be really blunt, it's like she's a junkie.
And she's detoxing.
And she is detoxing. But the thing I need to ask you guys to do is, although you're anxious about it, is don't let her see it.
Exactly.
Because she can see how anxious
Oh,
you
yeah.
are. Now, what I would say to you is because we know that she eats bananas, and bananas are a very good sort of form of, slow release energy.
Potassium and...
Get some bananas into her. I mean, you could do the snack training, but then afterwards, around the snack training, give her bananas and raisins. I think it's almost like she's kind of in rehab. I mean, really, it's almost like we're taking her off.
Yeah, it shocked me when you said that, because I just thought she was having an off day. I thought she wasn't, feeling very well. But now that you said that, it makes absolute perfect sense, and it's quite shocking, actually. I think it's quite shocking.
Matthew.
While the Bunyans look after Matthew and Thomas Mccardle, Angela and Mark join Tanya for their morning consultation.
Let's just first of all look at what I think is turning into be a major success this week, which is Matthew's sleep. He was up a lot, but he was doing something quite extraordinary last night, which was he was getting up and standing next to your bed and looking at you both. And at one point, he looked at you for 10 minutes before you realised that he was there, and then you took him back to bed. And I was quite intrigued by this, and I was sort of thinking, now, what's all this about? He's not making a big fuss. He's not attempting to get into your bed. But it's almost as if he didn't quite know how to get himself back to bed, but he didn't want to bother you. What do we think we're seeing there? I think we see a child who is...
Confusion, I would say.
I think we're seeing a child who's a bit confused, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're also seeing a child who's looking for some affection and looking for some connection. And I think he's waking in the night because you've started to show him more affection during the day.
You know, if you'd said before we came into the house that we just weren't affectionate enough to him, I'd have laughed at you, because I actually think I'm quite affectionate with Matthew. You know, I actually thought I was quite close to him, and always told him that I loved him and
because
gave him a cuddle.
Because you know in your heart that you absolutely adore him. But what's becoming very clear is that our bodies and our actions aren't showing that at all.
Absolutely. Which kind of takes us back to the beginning of his life, which is, although you both decided to have him, his arrival was at an inconvenient time.
And it caused problems.
And it caused huge problems for both of you. But I wonder whether we have to get back to basics and actually look at you guys bonding with Matthew in really quite a significant way. And all I'm thinking about is take it down to a little 2.5-year-old who's standing by the side of your bed for 10 minutes just staring at your faces. I kind of feel like, is he trying to work out what you both really feel about him?
He quite often in the morning crawls up to this height, puts one arm around Angela, another arm around me, and pulls us like that in a
have a cuddle.
sort of thing, isn't it? And it's really, really cute.
I find that really moving.
That would make a lot of sense.
I find that quite moving, really, because I feel that at 2.5 years old...
He's actually going, come on, guys.
He's desperately trying to bring you two together.
Yeah. The strange questions I've been asking myself at home is, I love my life. I love where I live, I love my kids, love my wife, love what I do, but I'm still not wonderfully happy. And that's a question I've been asking myself, which is...
What will it take?
Yeah, what else has to happen for me to be happy?
Do you feel the same way? You've got a great husband, gorgeous kids, beautiful house.
Find it hard work.
And draining.
Draining,
right.
very draining, yeah. Always tired.
Where is your fun, really, truly? Where is your fun?
Rugby.
Sorry?
I play rugby.
Rugby?
That's the only time I really release
Where's your fun?
everything.
Oh, there isn't any. No.
That's not a surprise to me. I've wanted since Matthew was born for her to get something that she's really passionate about.
I know what she wants. You want, and you want, exactly what your son was doing last night, standing looking at the two of you. You want to know where the communication is, where the love is, how you get that back together.
Mark doesn't show love. You don't.
What are you frightened of, if you were just to kind of let it all be there for the two of you?
Frightened of? I think it would be loneliness. Isolation is a word screaming at me for some reason.
Which is what you felt after you had Matthew, and have felt really up until very recently. Isolation and loneliness.
Yeah.
But it must be pretty tough, because if you contemplate separation, that means isolation and loneliness. But then it must be pretty tough to be married and to feel isolated and lonely.
Yeah.
So you're both kind of struggling with the same issues. This isn't a behavioural problem, this is what I would call a systemic problem. And what I mean by a systemic problem is that Matthew's behaviour is screaming out what is going on around him. But he is not eating, and he's had problems sleeping, and his behaviour's been a bit up and down, because he is representing what he is feeling in the system around him, which predominantly is his family. And children are the best representations of what is going on around them.
I think he's really suffering from the fact that we didn't have long enough to get to know each other before he came along.
I don't think you really know each other very well at all.
No, probably not.
It's almost as if we could say you love each other, you clearly love each other, but a sense of being in love with each other, maybe.
It doesn't exist. We don't behave like we're in love with each other. I could say something really, really shocking, which you wouldn't like me to say, and you'd be shocked at me saying it.
Go on, then.
But if I was to say that part of my motive to open a shop was because it was something for me to do that didn't involve staying at home with you every night.
Yeah, well, I thought you would say you opened a shop for something to do, because I know that you had this massive gap, like when you left London and everything, but I didn't realise it was to get away from me.
Well, I think part of it was because I couldn't handle...
Do you mean that?
Well, I think...
I don't know if you do. I can take on the chin if you do, but I just don't know if you do.
I think if I'm honest, part of it was because I couldn't handle the evening, the tension or the... what there was sitting at home for me every evening. I needed to be me and not be with you.
You needed to be yourself, but to not be with me.
Not because
See, I find it interesting,
not because I didn't want to be with you, but
I don't really understand it.
I just was fed up of it all. I can't.
I don't really understand that. I honestly don't understand that. I was about to say, was it you wanting to get away from? Was it more than just like I'm a pain in the arse and I hog the TV channel, or was it more like me and Matthew at home? I want away from the situation that's dragged me.
The whole thing.
That's probably the most honest conversation you've had so far, and I think it's probably the first time I've ever encountered you listening to each other. I think you really listened.
It's all about Matthew, really.
But I don't think it's about Matthew at all. I think Matthew's brought you here. I think Matthew's showing you that all is not well. And I think Matthew's behaviour, in a paradoxical way, he's kind of done you the biggest favour, because he's brought you to a space where you've both taken time out of your busy schedules to look at each other and say, this is what I feel. I asked you earlier, where's the joy? And there really isn't kind of joy. I would say your joy is probably playing very happily out there. He is an absolute piece of joy, but he has been an inconvenience and a problem because other things had to be achieved. You now find that you've achieved pretty much everything, as you say, every box is ticked. Great house, beautiful wife, handsome husband, two gorgeous kids, lovely ring on your finger, cars, and you're still not feeling the joy. I think it's because you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, I think
now,
you're right.
I think it's just as simple as you going out and just hanging out, which I think is incredibly hard for you because you're clean and you'll kind of sit around thinking, right, when's the consultation and what do I do next? And I think I'm asking you to do something that is going to feel really alien to the two, which is just to go and have fun with your son. But I think have fun with each other.
Yeah.
You holding on? Oh, your nappy's gone down. Come here. Daddy, pull it up. Nice buns. Do you work out?
Following their revealing consultation with Tanya, Mark and Angela Mccardle have a private chat in the garden.
I think the thing that's most shocking is that...
We don't talk about anything important.
But personally, we have to open up to each other.
I've said to you before, on a physical level, you only ever come near me if you're trying it on. When there's a demand from you to me.
But that kind of goes hand in hand with the whole, like, I'm not giving you my all. I'm not opening up to you because I'm afraid of being hurt, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But then, if you remember when I met you, you weren't opening up to me, were you?
No. You don't really know Angela pre 2002, really.
But, okay, is that just me then, or do you not know anything about me before meeting me either? What's the matter? But, this has just got to stop, isn't it? It's all got to stop.
While the Mccardles look after Charlie and Maddie, the Fletchers are in the consultation room with Tanya.
I think we're sort of on a good pathway to understanding selective mutism and understanding selective mutism as it relates to Charlie, and we're beginning to understand his rules.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about what you're feeling?
I just feel so sorry for him. I just want to pick him up all the time and just wrap him up and take him away from it all. I don't want him to have to do this. Yeah, I hate leaving them.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, when I was about 4, my mum and dad separated. And then when we were teenagers, probably like 14, my dad and my oldest sister had a big blow up. And that was it then, we didn't see each other for like 15 years.
Is it always in the back of your mind that somebody will leave you, or you might lose somebody, whether it's one of the kids or that Jamie might leave you at some stage?
As soon as I had Charlie, I was continuously thinking about death. You know, about me leaving him or him leaving me for some reason, you know, through death. And then I look at the way I am with him, and sometimes I shout at him, you know, when I'm stressed out myself, and then I'm thinking, no wonder he's so anxious, because I'm so stressed all the time.
And are you stressed all the time, generally in life?
Yeah, a lot of the time, yeah. I worry about everything.
What do you worry about?
Anything bad happening. Anything bad happening to us, anything bad happening to the kids. We were asleep in bed, weren't we? Well, you were asleep, and I was just lay there thinking. And I just said to him, do me a favour, when you wake up in the morning, just make sure I'm still alive. And he went, what? Why have you just said that? And I said, well, I can't stand the thought of the kids being in the house all day on their own and nobody being here for them.
And you're worried that you might somehow abandon them or leave them, or they'll be left alone, or...
Yeah.
You're morbid, kid.
Terrible.
It's not terrible at all. Why is it terrible?
You shouldn't really be going around with thoughts like that in your head, should you? No.
Does that make you a bad person?
It didn't make me a happy one.
No, I think that's right. From my point of view, I think the most important job I have, apart from helping us understand selective mutism, is to help you find ways to understand how what's going on inside the two of you might be contributing to the anxiety that's going on for Charlie. I think he knows what's going on, even on a very simple level that he can just see and look at your face. There is an end to this, but it's how you get yourself there.
Yeah.
And how you get Charlie there.
Yeah. Well, selective mutism, you know, it ain't the end of the world. It feels like it. I mean, it really does from time to time, but it's not. You know, I mean, it's a minor stepping stone, and once we've sorted that...
It's whether or not you feel that you can get through it without falling apart.
It's Tuesday, and for this week's families, there's only 3 days left to get to grips with their children's extreme behavioural problems. The Fletcher family are desperate for help with 3.5-year-old son Charlie's selective mutism, an issue that means he rarely speaks to anyone other than parents Jamie and Emma or sister Maddie. Charlie is beginning to say single basic words to other members of the house, but his continuing lack of communication remains a cause for concern for his parents. The Bunyans are at the House of Tiny Tearaways because their youngest daughter Rosie will only eat sugary snacks. Yesterday, Tanya encouraged parents Lisa and Pete to be less anxious at mealtimes, but this morning, Tanya had a shock for them.
It's like she's a junkie.
Angela and Mark Mccardle are looking for a solution to 2.5-year-old son Matthew's bad sleeping patterns and poor eating. Despite improvements in Matthew's sleep routine, mealtimes are still a time of tension between Mark and Angela. Still to come.
How you feeling?
Hungry.
So, how does that make you feel?
Hungry.
Generally? Hungry, generally? When I'm hungry, it generally makes me feel hungry. No, I feel a lot more relaxed today. Do you? As well?
I'm a little tired, if I'm honest.
I'm much more conscious of what my face is doing. When you're specifically trying to smile or make yourself look happy or sad, whatever, you move your eyes more than you think, don't you? So this morning it was like, I felt like I was going, you know.
The Fletchers are leaving for a day out. Tanya wants them to enjoy time as a family to ease their anxiety and not to give a second thought to Charlie's selective mutism. While Emily and Rosie play in the sandpit, Tanya has called Lisa and Pete Bunyan into the consultation room.
What I want to do now...
Yesterday, the Bunyans spoke with Tanya about Rosie's problematic birth.
It was just such a shock. The cord had come down in front of Rosie's head and it got itself wrapped around very tightly, and when she came out, they had to resuscitate her because she wasn't breathing.
Today, Tanya has suggested that Lisa and Pete watch from the consultation room while she chats to Rosie's older sister, Emily.
What should we draw?
Don't know.
Shall we draw a house and a garden and some flowers and stuff like that? Okay, we'll say that's all. We'll leave that there.
Tanya wants to discover what she remembers of Rosie's birth and the impact that it had on the family as a whole.
So tell me, I'm really interested. Just remind me, why did you come into the house with Mummy and Daddy and Rosie? What was the reason?
Because she's not eating properly, Rosie's not.
She's not eating properly, right. And who gets worried about that?
Mummy and Daddy.
Mummy and Daddy. Who's the most worried, Mummy or Daddy?
And Mummy.
Mummy's the most worried, is she? How do you know that Mummy's the most worried?
I don't know why Mummy's the most worried, but she always looks like she's the most worried.
Oh, bless her.
If you were to draw Mummy's face that's worried, can you just draw it for me? Show me, because that's really interesting. That's a very important thing. That's Mummy's face. So that's Mummy's... Sometimes. Is that when, at meal times, when Rosie's eating or not eating?
Yeah.
Mummy looks like that.
Sometimes she does.
When you first came into the house, we had a chat. Do you remember we sat on those sofas and you were telling me about what it was like when Rosie was a baby? Can you remember what you said to me? What was it like when Rosie was a baby? What happened?
She was very poorly.
Was she?
And she had blood in her eyes.
She had blood in her eyes?
Just over there and up there.
And how do you know that she had blood in her eyes?
So I saw it. I went to the hospital and saw Mummy and my sister.
Right. So no one has told you that? You saw it yourself?
That's shocking. Was she 2.5?
Yeah.
Oh, look.
That's what her eyes look like.
That shows how much it must have affected her.
Got clear, have you?
Do you ever think about it, ever? Rosie with the blood in her eyes? No?
I never... No.
No. You don't want to?
No, I never think about it.
Why is that?
I don't know why not.
Does it make you feel a bit upset to talk about it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Does it, you're quite upset, are you, darling?
No.
What, you don't like to think about her eyes looking like that? No. All right, sweetie pie. Do you think Mummy and Daddy remember those eyes?
It's a very long time ago.
Was it a very long time ago? Do they know that you saw those eyes?
I don't know if they haven't told me.
Did you tell them?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
It's her shoulders, that's her t-shirt.
This is Rosie. She's got big eyes, Rosie, hasn't she?
That's her hand.
So Rosie, because you've drawn two very big eyes, haven't you? And then you've drawn a body. So these eyes are very, you remember them a lot, don't you, these eyes?
She doesn't actually see her face.
She's got big eyes, Rosie, hasn't she?
Does she?
No.
Do you think that because Rosie was born with blood in her eyes, that's why she doesn't eat very well?
I don't know why she wasn't eating very well.
It's confusing, isn't it? Yeah, it's very confusing.
I'm confused, isn't she?
Right. Just show me, on these four people, at dinner time, remember what we've talked about people's faces. First of all, where would Rosie sit at dinner time? Tears.
Oh.
Bless.
So I put an R there so we know that that's Rosie. R for Rosie. Where's Mummy at dinner time? What's Mummy's face like? So that's M for Mummy, yeah? Where's Daddy sitting?
When Rosie wasn't eating.
This is when she's not eating. And what's your face like? So eating's not very much fun, is it?
Good kid.
Sorry?
She's a good kid.
Yeah.
See you in a minute, see you in a minute.
Oh my God.
Are you all right?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Just could not believe she drew red eyes and no face.
Yes.
But we didn't tell her, and I don't know whether I feel good or whether I feel bad. Because I'm...
But she didn't tell us either.
No,
and
she
that's-
didn't tell us. That was a shocker.
I think she was protecting you, wasn't she? I think she could tell that everybody was a bit...
Yeah, but that she was 2.5.
Did you find that quite... I mean, obviously I don't know what you were feeling or going on with it. Did you find that quite emotional? Quite...
Absolutely
more shocking.
gobsmacked. I
More
was really
shocking than-
shocked. Really
but
surprised at
when
that.
she sort of said that she remembered seeing Rosie in the hospital, sort of your hand shut to your mouth, and I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very strong image for a child to draw.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. For a 5-year-old.
And this one particularly because actually
Yeah, no
she
face.
didn't draw a face.
No, that really threw,
she just drew
really
the eyes.
threw me.
So what this tells
That's
me
what she remembers.
is that these bloodshot eyes are still in the family. Because when a child
Right.
is representing something and draws something, and even now as an older child who I know can draw heads because we had some heads earlier.
Yeah.
When she thinks about a particular time, it's all about that. She can't even put her head around it. And also what she's telling us is this is my sister, and it was very scary, but she was great and I
fine.
loved her, and it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think these pictures for me
that was interesting.
were really quite big as well, because I think she's sitting eating like a little trooper, but she knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
I think it's been quite an important little moment.
It really has opened my eyes because we don't see her.
No,
I have
sure.
never asked her the question. It's so good to be able to see her talk through that. That shocked the pants off me that she remembers.
And how about you?
I feel like I want to just go and give Emily a cuddle because she's been carrying it around for sort of 2.5 years and we didn't know.
Do you think partly she's been carrying it around for 2.5 years because you've kept living it?
No, I don't think we have. I was just about to
Emotionally.
say.
Possibly with what you've now said, with the meal times and that.
Tell me about why you're feeling very sad now.
Because I want to go see Emily.
You want to go and see
Yeah.
her? Yeah.
First, like a sweet and a savoury, yeah? There's one.
Are you hoovering again, Cherub?
There's Mummy.
Sorry? Mummy, just come in. Sorry? Yeah, well, we try. Mummy, just come in, my sweetheart.
Okay.
Come here, you little monster.
There's new toys outside.
Is there? You going to come and show me?
Yeah.
Come on. Give me the cuddle.
Let's talk about the earlier consultation with the Bunyans. What did you learn from it?
We have established that there are splits in the relationship in terms of the experience of the birth and how they are now both locked in their own version of post-traumatic stress. Eventually we got to the point of what I wanted to do, which was to do some work with Emily and really to just talk to Emily a little bit about her experience of what's going on in the family. And as always, when you talk to children and ask them clear questions, they often give very clear, very honest and very startling answers. And I think that's what we saw there with Emily, really.
When she talked about her sister's red eyes that were filled with blood that she saw at the hospital, obviously you couldn't see this, but I was watching Mum and Dad in the other room. They were like, oh!
Really?
They absolutely couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
What else did you learn from Emily's drawings?
There were two things I was trying to work out. I was wondering, is she traumatised by this image in the same way that her parents are traumatised by the whole experience? Certainly when she draws her sister as a new baby, she only draws two enormous bloodshot red eyes with a body but no head or face. And I know she can draw heads and faces. So there is for her a memory imprinted in her mind of these two bloodshot eyes. So I think what it shows Pete and Lisa, and I think just shows all parents really, is that when we have huge emotional issues that we're trying to put a brave face on, as in the case of the Bunyans, and they're a great family, however young our children are, even at the age of 2.5, they will pick up and see things. And they can live inside our children as long as the whole experience lives inside us as adults and we haven't found some kind of closure on it. And I think that's what Emily was telling us really clearly.
It's lunchtime in the House of Tiny Tearaways. Tanya is giving the family stickers to use to encourage the children to eat.
Purple, very good. Boy, here we go. Well done. Right.
Oh, do you want some water?
Following a difficult breakfast, the Bunyans are keen to make progress with 2.5-year-old Rosie's eating problem.
Rosie, would you like a sticker? Yes, OK. Rosie, can you pick up your bread for me? Can you show me how big girls pick up their bread? Can you show me, darling, and then I can give you a sticker? Shall we have a look? We want to try and not keep the room all kind of silent and staring. Sorry, because obviously Good girl. Can you put it and give it a kiss for me for a sticker? Shall we see? Good girl. Well done, Rosie. Which one do you want? Which one do you want, my darling? You want the big racing car, yes? Okie dokie. Shall we put that on there? Right, who's going to do it next? What's in your mouth? Good girl, Emily. Big clap for Emily. Well done. Hey, there you are. Which one would you like? You want that one. Good girl. Right, is Rosie going to get another sticker? Yeah. I think she can. Going to put some bread in her mouth like Matthew and Emily. Shall we see? All right, so what we have to do now is ignore this and just carry on as we are, and lots of praise for the children that are doing, and have to ignore this. Okay? Here. And I'm going to carry on saying how it goes.
Having spoken to the families at the dining table, Tanya returns to her office.
Rosie.
And do this. Oh, that's why.
They're all ready. Ready when you are.
She looks appalled by the whole situation, doesn't she?
What's happened here is the dynamic has completely shifted. Suddenly, she's mystified. How come my sister's getting all the attention and I'm not? How come they're ignoring me when I'm crying? How come everybody else is getting stickers and I'm not? Do you know, this isn't the way life goes for me. So this is a very tough lesson for little Rosie. She's unlearning everything that she's been used to.
What would you like now?
You want some yogurt?
You'd like a piece of bread?
Right.
OK then.
If you lick
What would you like to do after
a
lunch
piece
then?
of bread, I'll open the yogurt and give you a little bit.
That's OK.
Would you? Is it all dry out there?
Would you like to pick up the apple then?
Good girl!
Where'd that come from? Well done, Rosie.
It was
Rosie
the vibe
gets
of the
a sticker.
vibe of the yogurt.
Rosie gets a sticker.
Right, we've got to stop her taking it out of her mouth now, because otherwise she's going to learn just to put it and take out.
We're just going outside to play, Daddy.
Oh, wait, Tom. So you pop it in your mouth and swallow it, and then you get some yogurt. Swallow it, chew it and swallow it. Come on, there's the bread. You pop it in your mouth. Go like that. Ready, go like that. And it'll be gone. And that'll be a bit gone. Just pop it in on your tongue, swallow it, and then it'll be gone. No, swallow it. No, don't take it back out, sweetheart.
Go on.
Good girl. Really good girl. Really good girl. Hooray! Hooray! What was that? It was a crisp, and you just popped it straight in there. Clever girl. Well done.
Clever, Rosie.
Well done, Rosie.
Good Lord.
Very happy.
I think we found a reward that works.
Tanya has sent the Fletcher family out on a day trip to a petting farm to see if a relaxing environment will encourage Charlie to talk.
If we can reduce our anxiety, I think we can then start to reduce Charlie's anxiety, which will cancel his selective mutism.
I'm just going to chill out and have fun with the kids.
What's that?
Look at that. That's called a peacock.
Oh.
Look, Charlie.
Hello, mate. Tina Turner.
These are little babies. They've got no mummies and they need some help. Could you do that?
Hold it tight. Wow! What a greedy lamb.
Never done nothing like this before.
Mummy, we open this. Yeah.
What are you doing, Madden?
OK, mate, it's OK. Don't worry, mate. He was just curious.
I think today's going really, really well with the kids. I think they're really enjoying it.
Oi.
We're more relaxed and the kids are more relaxed. Ready, steady, go!
I think Charlie's a lot more, relaxed himself. He's communicating, and he's under no pressure. And that's actually what we need, no pressure on him. So verbally, he just relaxes.
Thumbs up. Got that for a tractor driver.
Good boy.
Well done.
This is Jurassic Rabbit. Look at the size of that grayer. Oh, nice.
So, do you know what that is?
No.
And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, it really is working. You can't deny what you're seeing with your own eyes. It really is. He's chatting again, which is amazing.
You're looking good.
Right, Matthew, squeeze it on.
Have you got one?
Tanya has arranged a messy food activity for the families. Instead of paint, they've been given a variety of sauces and a giant canvas to get creative. The aim is to encourage the children with eating problems to feel relaxed around unfamiliar foods.
Is it okay?
Matthew!
Squirt on here, look. Squirt on here.
Squirt on the
look at
paper,
that,
guys.
It's gorgeous.
What a stink.
Squirt it on the paper.
Have a go with this one. Squeeze it.
Everybody squirt on it. Oh, no.
Oh, what a reek. Mate, squeeze it.
Eureka!
Squirt me, get me.
Squirt, mummy.
Get me.
Everyone hungry? She don't want to touch my hands. Come on. Yeah, don't matter, does it?
Stand on it.
Come on, here we go.
my hand.
We're going to stand on it.
Just keep sliding to the side.
I'm slipping. Come on, off we get then. Good girl.
Try this one.
You need a bit more wax there.
Give me a good squirt. Give me a good
Really
squirt.
necessary. What's that?
My eye.
You're right, that's it up.
In fact, I can't give you a hand.
Can't give me a hand, Mark. Can you give me some love?
Come on, raise your hand.
It's okay. Yucky. I think about when it's yucky. It's okay. It's okay. It's all just a bit of fun, Matthew.
What's the matter?
Don't worry. Is Daddy walking it with you?
Do you want to walk on it like that?
Are you an ice skater, Pete?
Sorry?
Are you an ice skater?
No, funnily enough. We still haven't seen Ollie. That's just about.
What's that face?
Stand back, Emily. It's purely experimental.
Yeah, you win.
Matthew, clap. Matthew, clap. Very good. My hands are sticking together. Oh, family hug! A family hug!
I can tell it's actually gone through the suit.
A what?
Look in the garden.
In the garden?
Yeah.
What's in the garden?
Curtain.
A curtain?
There's a curtain there.
Not a curtain.
Nope.
Whilst the Mccardles are chatting at the dining table, Tanya welcomes the Fletchers back from their day out to a petting farm.
Come and sit down. Come and sit down. Tell me about your day. Did you see some rabbits, Charlie?
Charlie came out of himself a hell of a lot. Did he?
Yeah.
Really? Loved it there.
He did, honestly. There were a load of little piglets, and he was jumping in the mud. Charlie wasn't. He was feeding the piglets.
He absolutely stinks.
He was feeding the
He's got it
goats.
all
The
up
goat was
chat.
in his bag.
He loved
It was
He
really.
loved it.
But
He
you
loved
both look
it.
so happy.
Yeah,
You've
I
had a
think we've
happy
enjoyed
family
it.
day.
Yeah.
It's been a really nice day.
I sent you out with strict instructions to have a nice day and do not give a second thought to selective mutism and Charlie talking, which you've done. And by not giving a second thought to selective mutism and Charlie talking, what have you found?
Well, that we're less stressed about it.
Yeah.
And what's happened to him?
He's so relaxed.
Yeah.
And what happened to his speech?
Well, it came out.
Yeah.
He spoke.
Right. So this is quite a really, really interesting experience you've had, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Mummy.
Yeah.
My house.
Can you have something?
You've got to give some presents out in a bit.
Yes, well, I've got to get everybody down, Charlie, because have you got some presents to give people? You have you?
Sit down for Charlie.
All the children are gathered so that Charlie Fletcher can give them presents from his day trip. But will he feel relaxed enough to speak?
You'll have to remind me who them for, because I keep forgetting.
Me, Betty.
Whose was that one?
That's Maddie's
That's a
good boy.
That's a good boy. Whose was this little pig?
Is it?
Is it Matthew's?
Is it Matthew?
Yeah. Can you
Go
and
and give that to
Matthew
Matthew then. Good boy. There you go. So there you are, Matthew. Oh, it's fell on the floor.
There you go, mate. Whose was the little rabbit for? I can't remember now.
Was it for Emily? Do you want to go and give it to her then?
And whose was this special little hedgehog for?
He's lovely. They are
Give that
puppets.
Rosie then, please. And can
There
you
you
remember
go.
whose this tiny little baby pig was for?
It is a puppet.
Can you go give that Thomas, please?
It's dinner time in the House of Tiny Tearaways, and both of the families with eating problems, the Bunyans and the Mccardles, are at the table. Tanya has suggested that they try giving Rosie and Matthew some chips, food that they'd normally refuse to eat. Tanya observes from a distance by looking in the kitchen mirror. She's keen to see if Rosie can continue to make progress following her major breakthrough at lunchtime.
Can you eat this one? And then have the others.
Doing very well. Now, this is quite an overwhelming little plateful, so the table's clean, isn't it? I just think you kind of take the negotiation right down to what you did today with the bread. So just, not the big chips, just the little teeny chip.
I didn't see that one.
And then that, and then we'll see how we go. If this goes in and gets eaten like a clever girl, then it's that one. And that's what I want. And you can kind of join and say, this, Daddy wants you to, and you can kind of do it together, very clear, and then what you're doing.
Okay,
Right, I shall
okay
resume
with you,
my
Rosie?
observing
My
position.
big girl, I saw you on the slide.
Rosie, Daddy'd be really, really happy if you did that. Can you eat that little bit of chip and then you get that big cheese curl? What do you think?
Rosie,
How's that
what's in there?
If it's
Put that one away. Gone.
Because I feel like he's
So when you eat this little chip, you can have this. Is that okay? Yeah? That's much better. You can pick it up with your fork, good girl. That's it, chew. Okay, do you want a little drink?
Hooray! Rosie had a chip!
Rosie, good girl, well done, well done.
going to try a bit of chip for some Weetabix. Come on then, big boy. Can you pick a bit up? Can you put it in your mouth? Put it in your mouth and then take it out again.
You can eat a chip? That'll make me very, very happy.
Come on then, do this.
Oh, that looks tasty,
Come on
Mummy.
then, you can do it.
I don't know if you want any more than that. You're going to be here.
Thank you very much for that. That was beautiful.
It's nice, isn't it?
So you just say to him
Not
again,
food.
you just say to him again
Yeah.
very clearly, one of you says you
Matthew,
do...
Matthew, you do not throw your food.
Right, cool, that's it.
Matthew, will you eat some of that for me? Will you eat this piece for me and I'll give you some
If you eat
Weetabix?
that piece of chip, you can have some Weetabix.
Don't throw... Matthew,
Don't
you do...
throw the chip.
Oh, you're getting so ready. Should we get a chip?
Look, in fact, I'll make it easier for you. I'll make it a tiny, tiny, weeny bit of chip. If you eat that bit of chip, Matthew, I'm not going to keep telling you, you do not throw your food.
That is bad, Matthew. That is bad.
I also think if a child has a toy at the table, it's not meal times, it becomes play time. So it's about being very clear. This is about...
You can have your toy after you've finished your dinner. So I need you to eat that chip. You're not leaving the table because you're not finished your dinner. You'll sit at the table. Do you want me to go and put your Weetabix in the bucket? Well, you're going to eat your chip then. Look, here's your chip.
Right, so, just kneeling in a chip. Right, so, it's all about being really clear with commands. It's all about, okay, so, you put this in your mouth, darling, you can have some of this, right?
He's not saying anything with a face like thunder.
Well, like, this is stressful, but you're arguing now, so let's just chill. We can do all this, let's do this later, okay? We'll do this later. So you're going to have to just try and put all that to one side. I think you both got so incredibly stressed, the whole thing just fell apart, really.
3 minutes later and Matthew still hasn't eaten any of the chip, and so his reward of Weetabix remains untouched.
Matthew, because you wouldn't eat your chip, it's going in the bin. Sorry.
That's a tough lesson.
Mealtime over, and Matthew Mccardle is put to bed, having not finished his dinner.
I love you. Close your eyes and go to sleep. Night, night time.
Meanwhile, after an exciting day trip, Charlie and Madison Fletcher really don't have sleep on their minds.
Stand up. Bang the mirror. Joe! Now lie down. Lie down. Mommy. Mommy. Oh no! So not bogey. No! Bogey! Here you are.
While Matthew Mccardle is sound asleep in his own bed, Mum Angela and Dad Mark take the opportunity to spend a rare evening together.
Are you shocked by anything that we said today?
Yeah, I'm shocked by how bad the divide is between us. I've had a rough idea all along that it's because of, we didn't get long enough in the beginning. So I think I'm concerned that the cracks are very, very deep. I'm concerned that, we're not even going to give each other the chance. I'm not. I think we can, but I guess I'm worried about how hard that's going to be. We have to be strong for Matthew. We have to be united, even if we're not. We have to appear united for Matthew. Work with him as hard as we can while we're here, but in the background and in front of him when he plays, we have to be making more effort to be closer physically and be closer emotionally, don't we?
You know my upbringing of, Mum and Dad who are really good role models, still together and, fairly happy upbringing. That is, if I'm honest, that's all I really want.
Coming from what I've come from, I am not as certain of a happy ending. But also it's been something I want more than anything, is that happy ending.
So how are we going to fix this then?
Why don't we use the time with Matthew to get to know each other by having more fun with him? Because we're just not giving him the confidence to be the great little boy he can be.
Stop being away from me, it's because you smell.
Do I know?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
What do I smell of? Onions. Huh? You look really nice when you smile, do you know that?
Meatballs.
Smile again. Don't worry, I'm not going to shove a strawberry in your nose.
Tomorrow on the House of Tiny Tearaways.
Instead of the fire being kept down, it's finally allowed to burn, and I am feeling $1 million.